Show me that smile again. Show me that smile.
Oh my God!
Welcome to episode 52 of the Serial Chillers podcast. I am your host, Jesse. And today we've got 3 in-studio guests. Returning for the 3rd time, Robbie. Returning for the 793rd time, Bigfoot. Most controversial guest to date. And for the first time, Robbie brings a guest. Welcome, Taylor. Today we cover Dale Anderson, and we get deep into the story. And as you guys know how it's going to turn out, he's a serial killer. So, co-host Greg's across the internet, and we're going to dive right into this thing. Sit back, relax, and enjoy episode 52 of the Serial Chillers podcast. All right, on that note, welcome everybody to episode 52 of 1 million of the Serial Chillers podcast from the Super Network studio. I am here with co-host Greg across the internet in his bunker. How goes it, co-host Greg?
It goes well. Thank you. Thank you for asking.
Very good to hear. Rations aplenty as usual. Let me ask you, I think 4 episodes ago you told us you had to unbury a 50-gallon barrel of food.
I reburied it. It was just a drill.
I've got 3 guests in the studio again. We enjoyed doing it last week so much that we did it again this week. So, crashing the party, I should say, but we'll introduce him first because this is his 7,332nd episode he's been on. Welcome back, Bigfoot.
God damn!
Dude, this guy gets it. Yeah, so everybody knows Casey by now. Bigfoot, B-I-G-G.
F-O-O-T-S Designs on Instagram. Hit me up.
Is there an S in your Instagram name?
Bigfoot Designs.
No, but is it Bigfoots or Bigfoot?
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
Designs, yeah.
All right.
B-I-G-G.
He's like, then who the hell am I following?
Yeah, I'm following somebody else.
Oh, yeah.
They
It's just
also
a bunch
make
of feet.
rings, coincidentally.
Yeah.
No, it's just a bunch of feet. That's all that it is.
Just a bunch of feet. I thought that was
my
your
other
thing,
account.
too.
Someone to fetish Instagram.
Yeah.
It's my other account.
I just didn't want to unfollow it.
And
I think you can find pictures of Peggy Hill on there.
perfect.
Size 14, double wide.
And sitting across from me, what is this, your 4th episode now?
Third.
Third, okay. Welcome back, Robbie.
Trying to get above 500 today.
Oh, snip, snap. A 1-1 record. The odds go down when more people show up, too. So good luck to you out there today, sir. Anything you want to throw out there?
Not today.
Perfect. To my left, first time, Robbie brought a relative. Welcome, Taylor.
Whoop whoop.
Whoop. Yeah. Anything you want to throw out there?
Trying to get above 600.
Whatever that means.
yeah.
I don't know.
That works.
I'm not sure, but I'm ready to. Let's do this. Do we have note cards out there, by
We
the
got
way?
a few, yeah.
I'm with her. Set obtainable goals.
All right, guys, welcome. You all know how the show works. Let me explain it for anybody that doesn't. Each week, I sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell the story of an infamous serial killer. Throughout the show, you guys can chime in on my story, and if you brought your own story that is true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious, please feel free to share it. Lastly, if you have questions about questions, make sure to ask questions, because I cannot answer questions about questions if you never ask questions. Are there any questions? Then welcome to and let's play the Serial Chillers podcast. All right, today's serial killer, you guys. Have you heard of Dale Anderson?
Nope.
Yeah, in your face, Robbie.
Just mine?
In the
Negative 200.
I think you were the only one I specifically remember mentioning that you were going to know who it was and have heard of him. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it happened, Robbie. I remember it.
I might have said that.
Okay.
I was high when I said that.
You're
What?
down to start.
I lived my whole life by that saying.
You guys are also going to know this. Question number 1. I like when Robbie's here, I like to go extra high. In what
There you
year
go.
was Dale Anderson born?
When I listen to the podcast, sometimes I'll say it along with you. Yeah.
I'm glad to know
Try and
that,
go really,
that,
really high.
that you're there with me. I appreciate that.
Where were you tonight? What the hell?
I didn't want to take over.
250 points for the closest guess. 1,000 if you nail it. Let's see what you got. Casey says 1947, 1951 from Robbie, 1953 from Taylor. Some
Wow.
great guesses, some pretty close guesses. But tonight, someone has nailed it. Who thinks they nailed it? Raise your hand if you think you nailed it.
Me.
Ours, man.
Robbie, you did. 1,000 points
Damn.
on the board to start it off because Dale Anderson was born November 24th, 1951. Congratulations, sir. There's 1,000 points on the board for you. I won't lie to you guys. There's only like 8 questions tonight. But here, I put a little twist on the beginning of the show here. Question number 2.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
In what city and state was Dale Anderson born? 500 points if you can get the city. I'm sorry, 1,000 points for the city, 500 points for the state. No closest to anything. You
Yeah.
gotta guess it.
1,500 if you get both.
1,500 if you get both.
Is it like just some small or irrelevant city, or are we?
Oh, I'm
Can't
sorry.
ask
There
that,
are no.
bro.
There are no hints. There
Question
are
about
no
a question.
Yeah. It was a question about a question, and there are no hints on this one.
Thank you.
What
Wow.
city and state was he born in? You guys pretty much nailed down at least the era that he was born in by his name, it seemed. You guys were all within 6 years. All right.
Watch them be within 50 miles of each other.
So far, no. Ooh, where was it, Casey? I don't know.
I'd like to phone a friend.
Who do you want to call? Dale Anderson. Okay, we got Casey says Memphis, Tennessee. Taylor says Portland, Oregon. Houston, Tejas from Robbie. Canton, Ohio, guys. Canton, Ohio.
The Hall of
The
Fame.
Hall of Fame. That's right. So, good start though, Robbie. Good start. 1,000.
Would
1,000
not have
points.
gotten
Okay. Let's do the damn thing then. November 24th, 1951, Dale Anderson was born in Canton, Ohio to George, Dick, and Vera Anderson. I don't know why it was George Dick.
I was gonna say, why is
that's
it pertinent to include the?
Yeah. It was it was the name that he went by. I just went ahead and gave him his God-given name and his friend-given name, it seemed like.
It was a nickname.
His father worked on a dairy farm and later would become a miner. In 1952, the family moved to Galesburg, Illinois. A few weeks after moving to Galesburg, the family moved to Bellsville, Missouri. I can't find any reason why a few weeks later they would move, but in almost all accounts of the story, it was just a few weeks later. So, very bizarre to me. I've never just moved in a few weeks, but maybe they just didn't fucking like Galesburg, Illinois. I don't know.
Sounds pretty whack.
I don't know. Belleville, Missouri is the new spot, and I hear it's popping. 1953, they say Dale Anderson is a very quiet baby. He's just 2 years old, and his first sentence wouldn't come until he was almost 3. He spoke when his grandmother tried to discipline him. She said, "If you don't stop that, I'll spank you." And he said, "I'll spank you right back."
Yes.
I was hoping it was like, "Fuck you, Grandma."
You're not my mom. It for sure sounds made up, but I thought it was a pretty fun thing. I didn't personally make that up, at least, so I'll take that as fact.
All right.
That's how
There you
this
go.
show works.
Good to know.
Yeah, well, you knew that.
I did know that.
You did. Everybody who's here knew that. Unless this is your first episode in which, hey, hello,
Hey.
welcome to the show.
She's just trying to get above 600.
Well, now I don't know.
Okay, so he was he gonna spank his grandma? He's not gonna do it. He didn't do it. There's nothing to back up whether or not he did spank his grandma. So I can't tell you guys that. So he's gonna lead a very mild, non-troubling childhood. It's one of the killers where I'm going to skip right to 14 here because we've got pretty much nothing from his childhood. He attended Galesburg High School and graduated from Belleville West after switching in the middle of the school year. So apparently they moved back to Galesburg for a short time and then back to Belleville. So I think they just wanted to give Galesburg a chance, and it just didn't work. So Belleville West High School is where he graduates from. He's a loner who did not date and was almost an invisible student. They say he didn't participate in sports, in clubs, in after-school activities. He disappeared at lunch and he reappeared for classes, and he was...
So it wasn't like he had a superpower and he was invisible.
Maybe that is the problem. He's just misunderstood and
I can
doesn't
put
know
two
how to
and two
take care
together
of it.
equals 5.
Yes. So there was apparently after he's caught and he's a serial killer, we'll find out later.
Spoiler alert.
They go back and they reach out to a lot of his high school classmates, and they're like, "Hey, do you remember Dale Anderson? Like, tell us about him. We're trying to just get some stories and kind of figure out like what he was like then." And
They had no idea?
Nobody could fucking remember him. Nobody. So, he gets out of high school and he does some things with his life. Not much, pretty much insignificant until November 24th, 1972. He turns 21 years old. Question number 3. This one's a multiple choice. Where did he spend his 21st birthday? With a couple of friends at their house? At his family's house? His first time with a girl? Or all alone? Few friends at their house, his family, a girl for the first time, or all alone?
Robbie's cheating.
All right, got Casey.
It's quite the assumption.
Taylor says all alone. Robbie and Casey both say with a girl for the first time. You guys are hoping for him. You guys are hoping.
I got hope.
You got hope. Keep holding out because Taylor's going to score. He spent his 21st birthday.
Too obvious.
A time normally for celebrating with friends, getting way too drunk, and trusting that they'll carry you home safely at the end of the night. Dale Anderson spent all alone in his bedroom. So it's just one of those things, again, where you feel a little bad. That doesn't seem like a ton of fun. Also, he doesn't seem to really be putting himself out there, though. Well, also, it turns out, again, we'll find out later, he becomes a serial killer.
Wild.
Check it out. Yeah, who knew? From 1969 to 1974, Anderson begins his college career at Illinois State University in Normal, Illinois. He majored in history and minored in sociology. He wanted to be a school teacher and regularly made the dean's list. So he's
Smart guy.
He's holding it down, He had to spend his 21st alone, but I think a lot of people kind of grind through school and don't really worry about making friends, and they get their degrees and they live their lives once they do, and some don't still, but do your
Some
thing.
become serial killers.
Do you? Yes.
Do you?
You do me.
So, 1972, one evening in the summer, Vera Anderson, that's his mom, she was standing in the kitchen of her Belleville home, putting her financial records in a neat file where she kept them. Her son had just arrived home from work. He was home for the summer, so he's not doing his summer job. He looked angry and walked in and looked at his mom and said, "I just bet you spent all my money." And his mother is like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And he looks at her again, just dead in the eyes, and says, "I bet you just spent all my money." And she said something in her son's look alarmed her. He suddenly grabbed her by the throat and began choking her. So he's choking her, and she said it felt like her eyes were bulging out. He had this look of rage in his head, in his eyes, and he was just choking his mom out over spending his money, which she didn't have control of his money, so she wasn't sure what he was talking about anyway. But all of a sudden, the phone rings, and it's like he snaps out of it. And she, hysterical, runs to a neighbor's house, calls the police. Let's see. Yes, ran to a neighbor's house. He had just been... Oh, she didn't call the police. I apologize. Of course not. Why would you call the police on your son who almost
That'd be
just
the normal
murdered
thing
you?
to do.
Yeah, right. Have we not learned from Richard Chase? I did the episode twice. Come on, people. So she hysterically, with red neck, runs from the house to a neighbor's home. Dale Anderson had just revealed and previewed a sinister new personality trait with shocking clarity.
With
With redneck.
a redneck, right?
It is
Yeah.
Missouri, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I believe.
Oh,
Yes, Missouri. Yes.
Okay.
A redneck with a redneck.
Got it.
Dale, I don't want to victim shame. Greg, make note.
No, it doesn't fall into the criteria.
That's true. So it's the first time that his mom's ever seen this, and it's the first time that really anybody is close to him, at least when we go back and we get the stories from everybody, that he has this kind of angry outburst. It almost seems like it came from somewhere or someone completely different. So that would kind of suck if that is the case. A lot of the people we cover are mentally ill. We make a lot of fun, and it's not maybe in the best taste, but we do it anyway because they ended up fucking murdering a lot of people. Right. And a lot of people with these same mental illnesses work hard to keep everything under wraps and have no desire nor want to murder people, and these people do that. So in our eyes, they're a little bit fuckfacey, and that's definitely going to be the case with Dale Anderson. That he's very mentally ill, but it's a
Until then, he had seemed very normal, quote.
Right. And he's also in that time where psychosis begins to, or any major mental illness begins to like really rear its
I
head.
was just going to say, did he remember them or are they like blackouts?
I'm not really sure. I think he knew, but it was like he was not in control. He was watching it happen instead of living it. So, yeah. But I think the problem from the shitty part is that it had to be his mom the first time. It wasn't like his, roommate who kicked him in the fucking balls, and he was like, "Oh fuck, dude, what the hell just happened?" It was like he almost fucking killed his mom. So, besides the point, let's move on. He's fucking gnarly. For the whole rest of the summer, he's going to have a lot of other explosive outbursts, they say. Between 71 and 73, he spends his last 2 college summer breaks at home doing a summer job. Question number 4. What was his summer job?
Do we get a stab?
This one is multiple choice. Dang. You can stab if you want.
All right.
The stab, since it's not established, will be for 500 if you happen to get it. But 250 if it's right. If you'd like to stab, you're more than welcome to guess what his summer job was. I've got 4 multiple choice options if you don't want to stab. Casey's stabbing. Casey thinks he knows what he did.
I don't, but
Smart guy.
I gotta make up some points here.
Let's see if one of these 4 options is something you wrote down. Let's see what you got over there. Was he A, pizza delivery boy, B, pool boy, D, C, coal miner, or D, a construction worker?
Dang it.
Sorry, Casey. Pizza delivery, pool boy, coal miner, construction work.
And did he end up with the black lung?
You were down there for one day.
The merman.
That's what I thought too.
All right. Taylor says pizza delivery. Robbie says coal miner. Casey stabbed and said landscaping. Womp, 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 womp. He did get the black lung pop.
Hey.
Because he was a coal miner. If you'll remember.
That's what his dad did.
His father was a miner. That's right.
Listener.
Good listener, Robbie. You're running away with this motherfucker. So I believe that is, what do we got? 1250 Robbie, 250 Taylor, Bigfoot yet to hit the board.
I'm going to chalk it up to being the podcast crasher.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared.
I didn't think you'd show.
Better act right, son.
He's here. He's here.
Yeah.
He is indeed a coal miner, Robbie. He worked side by side with his father, Peabody, in Peabody Coal Mine. I was like, wait, his dad's not named Peabody.
George Dick.
Yeah. So he worked side by side with George Dick in Peabody Coal Mine. His parents believe it was time for their son to learn to make his own way, so they had him save some of his pay for college. They made him partially pay for school.
Mom spent it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where it all stemmed from, isn't it? In 1973, he's now 22 years old. He's going to marry and move back to Belleville, where his wife was raised. He just decided not to include her name because she doesn't really seem complicit, and I feel like she didn't need to be part of this. So we skipped over.
If you're out there, contact us if you're listening.
Yeah. Remember how nice we were, and we left your name out too, though. So just remember that. Remember that. serialchillerspodcast@gmail.com. So he moves back to Belleville. So he's back where he spent most of his young life. His wife was raised there, so he enjoyed it with her. 4 years later, his first daughter is going to be born. This is 1977. The same year, he gets motivated and applies for a job with the Illinois State Police Department. He was crushed when he was rejected because for most of his adult life, he had spoken often of his desire to become a police officer. So he had a dream.
Ironic.
Then he just knew he could get there one day. He just had to work hard and not kill anyone yet.
He ended up as a mall security guard.
Paul Blart?
Peanut butter jelly. So he doesn't get what he believes is his dream job, and it bums him out. So what does he do? All people who don't become cops do. That's right. He got a job in Allstate as an insurance agent, as a claim adjuster. Allstate would eventually fire him for falsifying his records to get the job. Yes, he had to falsify his records to get the job at Allstate. I'm not saying that Allstate is like Fort Knox or anything, but it seems like there's probably some pretty entry-level positions there.
What year was this?
This is 1977.
Like, the internet wasn't available then, so they had to actually, call back. After he was already hired,
Yeah.
they had to,
Oh,
call back and listen to, people talk about him and be like, oh, this guy was lying.
Yeah.
Do their due diligence beforehand?
Yeah.
They needed to fill the position.
We've all hired people in our
looked the part.
lives, right? We've all hired people in our lives, and never, ever do I call after I've hired somebody.
Yeah.
No. In most places that I've ever been the person in charge of hiring somebody, besides Harold's, it's been pretty strictly regimented, and there's a process that I am not in control of that is going to take care of all that. I'm literally just
But that takes place
sign
beforehand. It's not like
Yeah.
you hired someone and then you're like, you know what? You've been here for a year, but we just looked into something.
Yeah, that's kind of what it's.
Just found this.
That's exactly what happens to him here. He's got the job. He's a claim adjuster. He's out there doing the damn thing, and I think it's about 10 months later when they fire him for falsifying.
And just making it up as he goes along.
Apparently, he was holding it down 10 months. That's a long time to hold a job that you don't know what you're doing.
Hey.
Later in 1977, family and friends noticed that he was becoming increasingly secretive, and he began to deadbolt the door to his bedroom every time he went in. I mean, whatever. The guy likes his privacy, maybe not any red flags quite yet, but his family is taking notice of this. The next year, he works for another insurance agency, probably falsified his records, no doubt. Again, he is fired for asking female workers and clients out on dates. He
didn't have to falsify records. He already had the experience.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's true. When confronted with the allegations of hitting on the female coworkers and clients, he became enraged. He began screaming at his supervisor. They couldn't get him to leave, so the police had to come and physically remove him from the building.
Sounds like a solid dude. He's passionate about his job, man.
He's got he's really got it together, is what I think is happening.
He was so passionate about being a claims adjuster that he was like, how dare you?
I just want to adjust
Yeah.
the claims.
That's what they do too. Yep.
Just to adjust
No
the
way.
claims.
So, yeah, he's being a fucking creep. He's hitting on his coworkers. He's hitting on clients. I mean, in the 70s, I think things were a little more loose too. Let's just say.
Yeah, they
So
didn't have
if-
chat rooms.
I think.
How do you meet people?
I guess what
Claims
I'm
adjuster.
saying is
Chat rooms.
If you were so creepy that you were creeping out all of the ladies who there wasn't really a standard for treating these ladies with
Utmost respect.
Yes, and I'm not saying that 1977 were savage times, but it was different then. It wasn't the 50s either, but I think he's a genuine and major fuckface. I think it's 100% true. He begins.
I haven't seen the evidence for that yet.
Yeah. Well, let's move on.
Yeah. Give it a second.
Later in 1978, after being fired, he had fallen into the habit of telling people a lot of lies, one of which is what he was doing for work. Question number 5. What was he telling people he was doing for work?
Ooh.
Yes. Was he in IT, an undercover cop, a truck driver, or a pilot?
I tried to stab at you, gave those while I was writing mine.
All right.
Follow your heart anyway, Casey.
I did. I had already written it out before he started.
Robbie says truck driver. Casey stabbed a police officer. Taylor guessed undercover cop, which is what essentially Casey wrote. I will award you 500 points because that is the answer. And I did watch you write that out before I gave the answers.
I'll attest.
Yes. And Taylor, you will receive 250 points for that. I did not see you write it out beforehand.
What? I did put B, not police officer.
So 500 points to Casey from 0 to back in this bitch. So we've got 500 to 1250.
Gosh dang it.
Robbie.
It's not over, but it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot. Robbie, looking good.
Thank you.
Good so far, yeah. Yes, he did indeed
thank
begin telling people he was an undercover cop. An undercover police operative, he said. Yeah, so he's just going around saying this. All the while, he's going to church with his family at Union United Methodist Church in Belleville, where Anderson's behavior attracted lots of attention. He was a really creepy guy and would often be accused of touching other women. Soon, the men made it a practice to sit next to Anderson to prevent him from putting his hands on other women. This guy's just like going to church and sitting in the pews and just like, oh, that's not my thigh.
I wonder if this is mine.
Nope.
Oh, sorry about that.
Maybe he was like Rasputin, and he just believed that you have to purge your sins by indulging in sins.
Yeah, but you could sin
Double negative.
you could sin pretty hard, like not in a church though, right?
But you purge even more when you do it in a church.
All right.
It's like a multiplier. You play
Okay.
video games, you know about multipliers.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't even
Times
have to,
10?
Times 10.
Whoa, okay, I get it now. So he's going to this church. He's telling people he's an undercover police operative. He's the creepy guy. Now all the dudes are coming around and like sitting real close to him, so he can't sit real close to their wives. Overall, pretty skeevy sounding dude.
He didn't
so
start
far.
touching the dude's thighs?
Hey, that would have been the way to really get back in and be like,
Right.
hey,
Thigh's a thigh, bro.
I'm an equal opportunity molester.
It's a pretty alpha move.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dale finally gets a job in police work later this year. He became a sheriff's deputy at the St. Clair County Jail in Belleville. The big problem for Dale is jailhouse deputies are not allowed to carry a weapon. That did not stop Anderson from buying guns, though, of which he owned many.
America.
Yes, America, indeed. 1979, at the age 28, Dale Anderson had been hired as the jail guard under a federal program. When the one-year program expired, Dale was promoted from within and continued to climb up the ladder. No, as soon as the program ended, he was fired. He did
I was
not.
like, wait a
I was
minute.
believe- I was
Shouting
believing
at him
that.
the whole time. Get off the fucking ladder.
Yeah, he was. The program ended. Dale Anderson was immediately fired. Not surprising. But in 1980, he becomes a caseworker with the Illinois Department of Public Aid. So when I got to this point, I started thinking about some of the jobs I've had in my life. I started thinking about some of the jobs Dale Anderson had in his life, and I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, well, yeah, like, come on, he's getting like some pretty good paying, pretty nice and government jobs. What the fuck? This guy's a real piece of shit. I don't know. I just really, I think I started getting mad at
So
myself and Dale Anderson here.
I think Greg can attest that the government didn't have that much data on every citizen back then. That's probably why.
Well, I mean, they were pretty close.
Yeah. Well, how
But-
far was the government ahead of everyone else?
I mean,
How far is the government ahead of what now?
Of everyone else.
Oh, decades.
Yeah.
Casey looks worried.
You think you accidentally got pregnant? No.
Me?
No, not
Shit.
you. Well, maybe, I don't know. But they're definitely their population control's a real thing.
Ooh.
Moving on.
Is there a story to this? No
Not
story?
tonight. There isn't.
yeah, serial killers. That's why we have serial killers. Population control.
I bring Greg on to tell the non-killer stories. He brings some really great conspiracies and aliens and cool things like that. We agreed on a story tonight. That wasn't it. So we'll just we'll put a pin in it. We'll come back to it another day, and I think it'll be a really great tale for episode.
You're not going to get anything out of me about it now. you're just going to have to deal with the story that I brought.
Hey, I'm not gonna have to deal with it. I love it. I love the story that you brought. Okay, you guys are excited for Greg's story, so we'll move on here so we can get there. And let's see. So he now ups the story a little bit. He's been promoted from undercover operative. He starts telling his friends and family that he works for the Illinois Bureau of Investigation. But we all know he did not work for him. He was still working at the public aid office. So he is essentially like, I don't know, it never quite said if his wife knew where he was working, but I think he might have been telling his wife, he's like, well, I work for the Illinois Bureau of Investigation. He's just getting a government check. I'm sure it looks just very,
Generic,
official and
yeah.
generic and government-y. And he's just like, yeah, it's Illinois and government investigation. And he's just, he's a fucking caseworker. And he's got piles of paperwork on his desk. And he's telling everybody that they're all, hey, check me out. Bureau investigator. This is my government check. Don't look really close.
Don't look at that.
Yeah.
It's top secret.
It's top secret. So,
Shows his badge like this with two fingers over it.
and when it folds under, it has a sexy picture of him. Like this.
Conveniently falls out.
Yes. So he does not work for the Illinois Bureau of Investigation, and he is at the public aid office. In October of 1987, he's 36 years old now. He's promoted for real. His new duties include determining who would receive public aid and the amount of their insurance. Within a month of his promotion, his evaluation pointed to numerous problems. Clients complained he did not return their calls, consistent break taking, and he canceled cases without their knowledge. Like, people would show up to meet with him, and he would just be like, "No, I'm not going." This is within 1 month of the promotion, by the way. This isn't like, he's been doing it 3 years and he got a little burned out. Like,
No, 1 month.
yeah, do we fire him? Like, give him a vacation, some retraining. That's where we need to go. No, he's been here a fucking month. And he's like, fuck you, I'm not going to that appointment. No. Hey, you're hot.
You're
What's
cool.
up, girl? Yeah. So, a month. So, 1987, later that year, Anderson's supervisor gives him an unsatisfactory work performance review and cuts his pay. Anderson took a sick day soon after this, and on the very same day, a dog owned by the very same supervisor was poisoned and died. Coincidence? All right.
Oh, that was
Probably not.
I
Probably not.
was gonna say probably.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You would.
Yeah. Casey thinks coincidence. That's the wrong answer. Minus 1,000 points.
Tits.
Hey, one time, maybe sometime the show will mean something with points, and it'll mean something to take away points from you. But right now, it means absolutely nothing. So I'm still going to give it to you. No, I'm just kidding. So, sorry. So he's pissed off at his supervisor. He kills his dog. Later the same year, several months later after the dog murder, he begins advising public aid recipients to falsify their applications to get more welfare money. So he's like telling them, like, hey, if you put this right here and you put this right here and you don't really tell them about this, like, you're gonna get this. The problem with this is that when they realized these issues, it wasn't like they were like, Dale Anderson, you're responsible for paying this money back. They went and got these people who already didn't, have the money.
Anything.
Yeah. So
Do you think it was like a secret shopper? Like they just had people apply.
I just don't know. I think after a while that had to be the case. They were like, wait, what the fuck is this guy doing? Like,
So much money.
it was actually the first filming of the show Undercover Boss in 1988. He's like, look, if you fill this out like this, you get a bunch more money. So May 23rd, 1988, after another problem with Dale Anderson, one of his supervisors finally just says, hey, I need you to come into the office. We heard you've been taking home case files, which is completely against policy. That is not allowed to leave the government facility. He's becoming belligerent at work. The supervisor just says, like, look, we need to have a meeting. We're going to sit down. We're going to talk about this. Dale Anderson said no.
Said, fuck you.
Yeah. Dale Anderson refused. He said, supervisor, here's the thing is, nah. So Dale Anderson does not meet with the supervisor. 3 days later, he goes to the Belleville Police Department, claiming his supervisors had shoved him and taken $800 from his briefcase. He would later sign an official criminal complaint against them.
Why do you have $800 in your briefcase?
Did he get it back?
Yeah, he didn't have $800 in his briefcase.
You didn't even have a briefcase.
Can you imagine, like,
It's Dale.
so this guy gets he's on the edge of getting shit canned. They're like, what is going on? We gotta have a meeting. You gotta come in. He's like, nope, I'm leaving. Goes to the police office and he's like, these guys pushed me down and they took my $800. I need to file a complaint. Like, who was it? It was all three of my bosses at work. Like, what? I'm completely baffled by it. But
Well,
it
I
happened.
just want to know why he picked $800 because that is not briefcase money. That's like suit pocket money.
Well, he had 1,000, but he gave 200 away to somebody that needed welfare.
Hey, Casey, how much is that $800 in, what year is that?
1987.
Hang on one second. Let me Google that.
I've got a link if you want it.
Cool. We'll come back to that. So, mid-May of 1988, Anderson is caught rifling through a supervisor's desk in which he had took several documents. You got an answer?
I do have an answer. That was $1,784.79.
Hey, dang, it's like $1,800.
Yeah.
Is that briefcase money now, Greg?
No, that's still only $1,800 bills.
That's true. That's not that much money. I just thought of how sad that little stack was.
Yes.
Hopefully he was carrying
$1,800.
then 20s. Yeah, so he's caught. He's still working here is the thing. He's caught going through a supervisor's desk. He took several documents. He becomes increasingly belligerent once more. It's not a good look for Dale Anderson. He calls the Belleville News Department after he files the police report. He calls it's the Belleville News Democrat. It's the newspaper in town, and he tells a reporter about the charges against the supervisors. He didn't identify himself, but claimed that he was an employee at the public aid office. So he goes and he files this report and says that these guys pushed him down and took a $1,762 1987 converted dollars, which is only pocket money anyway. I don't know why he was carrying it in a briefcase. And he files this report of an official criminal complaint. Right after this, goes to the newspaper, not as himself, and says, hey, I heard that the supervisors at the public aid office got a police report filed against them. I know, because I work there. Click. And so, to me, it seems like, all right, the guy on the other end of the phone was probably like, fucking crackpot, and hung up. Except for 2 days later, the story ran. So on June 4th, 1988, they run the story about the supervisors in the public aid department pushing down one of their subordinates and taking their money. It doesn't really seem to have gone anywhere because it was in the newspaper. But a few days later, Anderson again calls police, claiming that his supervisor had shoved him again.
Took another $800.
On June 9th, 2 days later, Dale Anderson went to a small town south of Belleville and fired several rounds of ammunition through his gun. He told a friend from church, who was a police officer, that his public aid supervisors had taken shots at him and therefore he had to return fire. He told the police officer friend that they were trying to kill him. So we're getting a little farther down the line, and it's starting to look a lot like paranoid delusional schizophrenia. Right. It didn't take long to get there. We probably could have surmised something very similar 9 paragraphs ago or so, but we're here now, and it's becoming... This guy went out to a field and was like, "Pow, pow, 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 pow," and fired it at nothing, and like when his friend like... These guys are shooting at me. Feel how hot my gun is. Like, I had to shoot at them. Feel how realistic the story is. I feel like that had to be like what was happening. It had to be real in his mind.
I'm more shocked that he has friends.
That's true too. Church friends. There's the guy who likes.
They had to be his friend.
It was the guy who pinned him into the pew so he wouldn't fondle his wife. It wasn't his friend.
Everybody here except for Jesse is a
Gang
church
star.
goer, so we know those people. We know those people.
Hey man, how you doing? Real good to see you.
Is it though?
No, it's not.
So a few days later, Anderson is barred from the public aid office because, of course, the police officer thinks he's fucking crazy and tells the guys at the public aid office, like, "Hey, I think this guy is fucking crazy. Like, maybe figure some shit out and get him where he's not allowed here anymore." So, of course, he's officially fired and barred from the office completely. Good for them. June 11th, the next day, Audrey Cardenas joins the News Democrat team as an intern. This is the newspaper we were just talking about. She's a recent graduate of Texas A&M and was an eager and willing learner. Just a little over a week later, on June 19th, 1988, Audrey Cardenas would go missing. On the same day that she goes missing, Dale Anderson goes into a store and buys 2 identical briefcases, and then would go in and buy 2 more identical briefcases. On June 20th, Audrey Cardenas failed to report to work. On June 20th, the following day, Anderson would buy again 2 more identical briefcases.
A deal's a deal, bro. When you like something and there's that many of them and they're on sale, you got to get them all.
6 and they're only $29 a pop, man.
It's like one for every day of the week.
Yeah. So he's buying all these crazy briefcases. Apparently, 6 in a 2-day span. It's going to become important later. Don't worry. Audrey Cardenas is missing. She fails to report to work on June 20th. The briefcases, they're going to be found on his bedroom floor later. Bush, the crime scene investigator who wrote about Anderson later, would call the briefcases assassin kits. So very BTK. He had his little kill kits. June 23rd, 2 days after Cardenas' disappearance was reported to the police, Anderson tried to disguise his voice when he called the newspaper once more. He said that his supervisors had kidnapped a young woman, and he gave them their home addresses. On June 26, 1988, Audrey Cardenas' body was found in a dry creek bed on the campus of Belleville Township High School East. Police arrested a California transient, Rodney Wodke, who had wandered onto the high school athletic field 150 yards from the Cardenas body. So this guy, Rodney Wodke, he's essentially a homeless dude who fell asleep on a football field, and most people believe that he had nothing to do with it. He's charged with it now, but he's going to be convicted of it later with literally zero physical evidence. 100% nothing. So have you guys all, as people who have listened to true crime and probably covered a little in their life, are we aware of Robert Ressler?
No.
He's like a FBI profiler. He's the fucking best in the game. You listen to the Richard Chase episode? Mm-hmm. Remember when they said he's like a tall, skinny, malnourished, blah, blah, blah? That was Robert Ressler. Oh, yeah. Robert Ressler is 95% sure that Wodke did not commit the crime. Let's see. What do I have here? Where to go? Okay, Robert Ressler, the baddest motherfucker of all time, said he was 95% sure that Wodke was not the culprit, and it was indeed Dale Anderson. So Dale Anderson has gone and perhaps committed his first murder. He won't be convicted of it now. June 28th, 1988, Anderson attends Cardenas' memorial service at St. Elizabeth Hospital in Belleville. He stood in the back of the chapel with the police officers who are investigating the case.
Good man.
Can you imagine? Like, the police officers are, like, clearly there to scope out any fucking weirdos that are, like, kind of peeping on the funeral. And he's back there like, who is it, guys? Who do you see? Come on, anybody see anything?
We're all touching their thigh.
Who we going after?
Yeah, exactly.
big old bag of
Exactly.
fuck.
Yeah, he's back there fucking around like that. So let's take a short break. Come back or I'll kill you.
Yeah.
No.
Welcome back to the Serial Chillers podcast. I am co-host Greg. I temporarily took the wheel when Jesse wasn't looking.
Hey, get out of here.
Back to your corner.
Yes, welcome back, everybody. We are going to continue on with the story of shitty fuckface Dale Anderson. Yes, I added a little extra to that one. I'm sorry. I was feeling it a little. I'm feeling a little mad about some things, you guys. So, we're at a point here where we think we can't prove that he has killed somebody because someone else has been charged with the crime. June 28th is the date that he attended the memorial for Cardenas. Tell me that it's not just starting out just real creepy, that this girl goes missing. He's in some way related because he's constantly going to the newspaper to update his story about his bosses pushing him. This girl starts and a week later goes missing. Sorry, there's a lot to it. If Robert Ressler believes it, I'm just going to go ahead and back that up. So, July of 1988, he goes to a 36-year-old Belleville woman's house. Question number 6. He is going to access this home. How? No stabbing on this one. Multiple choice only. Does he A, force his way in, B, flash a fake badge, C, sneak in, or D, charm his way in? Is he forcing his way, flashing a fake badge, sneaking in, or charming in his way? Everybody says he flashes a fake badge, so pretty much means nothing for all of you whether you got it right or you got it wrong this time. But you're all right. He did indeed flash a badge and goes into the home. I can't say for certain, but I think Robbie might have had it put away like when he got that first question right.
Suck it, losers.
So we'll see. I think we've got 2 more questions or something like that left. Maybe we'll figure out something fun at the end to make it interesting, Robbie, just to make you sweat. So he flashed a badge and he goes into this woman's home. He said that he was an investigator working on the Cardenas murder, and the woman became very nervous and called the police. He went ahead and dipped, but was caught just a few days later and was charged with disorderly conduct and impersonating a police officer. During a court hearing on the charges, Anderson fainted. I imagine it was something like. When he was arrested, he had a briefcase containing a gun, a police light, a knife, and several papers about Cardenas. First of all, how is there not more about Dale Anderson? I feel like there's a lot, even though he's only killed one person up to this point. there's a lot going on, and it feels like it's a lot of like, have we not been widely circulated the tale of a guy who got like, hey, we think this guy killed a guy, and we found this briefcase with with the fake police light. He's entering into these homes with fake police badges. He's got it all, and I feel like he needs to be a little more represented in these stories and these victims' tales, because Dale Anderson was certified. I think it was certified fuckface. So
I don't think that anybody is just the worst of what they've ever done in life.
yeah. He's arrested. He's got this briefcase. It's full. It's got the knife. It's got the police light. It's got several papers about Cardenas. Anderson was arrested again shortly after this time telling Cardenas' father that he was a police investigator on the case. So now he's not like obsessed with it from a distance. He's going to the victim's father like, hello, investigator Dale Anderson. I'm here to talk to you about your daughter's death. And in all likelihood, Dale Anderson was responsible for her death, so it just makes it, I don't know. There's just something extra creepy about this guy that for some reason sits heavy with. I can't fucking wait till next week. God damn it. So, what are you recording?
What's next week?
Not Dale Anderson.
Fuckface.
After each arrest, Dale Anderson would shortly be released, much like the Simpsons clip Greg used just a few episodes ago. Dale Anderson was mostly out just 12 hours later.
Well, of course.
We'll try to make it 12. So he continues to get arrested and get out quickly, and we see this again too with a lot of serial killers. You start to feel invincible if you start getting away with all these little things, and you're getting put away, and they're like, just go, fuck, you know how much paperwork it is to keep you here? So at this point, it's clear that he's become very obsessed with the Cardenas murder, and actually for a brief time he was considered a suspect in the killing, but there was no follow-up from investigators when he refused to take a lie detector test. Like, I'm not gonna do it, and they're like,
Okay.
yeah, fair enough. There's this transient asleep over here anyway. We'll grab him. So in late July of 1988, Anderson instructs his 14-year-old friend of his daughter's to write a note stating that she had seen Cardenas at Anderson's house and that Cardenas was frightened of Anderson's public aid supervisors. So now he's like having people write letters saying like, no, she was at my house saying that my bosses are fucking scary dudes. Like, she was here. Yes, I know. Yes, exactly. Anderson continued to insist that Cardenas was at his house the day before she disappeared and that she told him she was investigating the public aid supervisors for corruption. In August of 1988, the now 37-year-old Dale Anderson finally gets fired completely for insubordination and stealing of records. So he was pretty much working from home and doing some other shit, and he was able to come into the office when other people weren't there. And now this is like a few years after all of this shit is going down. He's finally officially fired.
Took long enough.
Yeah, it's hard to find good work these days, you know. During the months that he was fired, during the months he was looking for work, Anderson's wife still thought he was going to work. So he did the classic, go sit on a park bench and feed the birds. December of 1988, in a psychological evaluation, Anderson was characterized as paranoid and obsessed with the administrators and supervisors at his old work and the Cardenas killing. Later that month, Anderson believed that he was the only person who could solve the Cardenas murder, he told his psychologist. This time, Anderson was briefly jailed and released for some threats. In 1989, during the year after the Cardenas murder, Anderson fabricated an Illinois State Police report saying that all three supervisors had killed Cardenas. He also wrote a memo purportedly written by another one of his supervisors stating that this supervisor feared for her life due to the severity of what was taking place with the other three supervisors. So he like made up a fourth supervisor to be like, I am afraid for my life because these three supervisors are killers. I heard that Dale Anderson might also be telling you that. I can corroborate this. So April of 1989, Anderson and his lawyer went to see the state's attorney, John Bereshevik. He gave Bereshevik his documents that he had on the supervisors in Cardenas. Bereshevik chose to discount all of this. August 24th, 1989, without any physical evidence linking Wodke to the crime at all, a judge convicted him of murdering Cardenas. He was to be sentenced on September 28th. On September 20th, Anderson posed
My
as a...
birthday.
Nice. Happy birthday. Anderson posed as a home buyer from Springfield. It's a hell of a town, I hear. And he entered a woman's home near Belleville.
They have a nuclear energy power plant there.
Yes,
right?
from what I understand, I think they do.
And
go
one
to-
hell of a lemon tree.
Yeah.
Homer just showed up one day. He showed up on opening day.
Let's see. He goes to a woman from Springfield. He posed as a home buyer from Springfield and entered a woman's house near Belleville, which is for sale by a realtor. The woman showed Anderson around. He wore a baseball cap and kept it low and carried a bag slung over his arm. He kept asking to look into a crawl space that led under the home. Like, listen, ladies, you don't have to do this, okay? If somebody asks to see your house and they're creeping you the fuck out, you don't have to show them the crawl space, just so you know. Guys, too, as a matter of fact, everybody out there, if someone is asking specifically to see your crawl space during a viewing of a home,
And they don't have a search warrant?
yeah, it's not important. That's not an important part of purchasing a home, crawl space. No need to show them that. Go ahead and skip that and just say something like, I'll show you when my police officer husband gets home in 30 seconds. Or, something like that. So he keeps asking you to look into the crawl space that leads under the home. The woman opened the cover and leaned in as Anderson stood over her. Question number 7.
Yes.
What happens next? A. Someone interrupts them. B. The phone rings again.
Oh.
C. He kills her. Or D. He attacks her but fails to kill her. Okay, so we have 2 kills her, 1 attacks her but fails. So she goes into the crawl space, Dale Anderson right above her. We all sit in anticipation and find out that at that moment, a friend of the woman walked into her kitchen and Anderson quickly left through the front door.
Not what I was hoping for.
Just a bunch of people groaning about how a woman didn't get murdered.
Damn it!
Oh, what the hell?
That's
for
gonna
sure.
be an email.
That's gonna be an email. For sure, she's gonna get whacked.
Okay, so yeah, I think that it seems almost as if he gets in these zones and then he can be very quickly snapped out of it by some outside force. That's what it... A phone call, someone walking in, I don't know, it just seems interesting.
Yeah.
Hours later, he would go to another woman's home. It was also for sale. Again, Anderson wore a baseball cap, carried a bag, and this woman would not let him in. Good for her. Hours after this, he went into the home of Jolene Landman in the Villa Madero subdivision, just east of Belleville. Prosecutors believe that Anderson again posed as a home buyer. The Landman home was for sale at this time. Jolene Landman let Anderson in, and police believe that Anderson went through the house and, while looking at the bedroom of Landman's 3-year-old son, pulled something out of the bag and struck Jolene Landman in the head. He forced Landman with a garrote to write a note saying that Anderson's 3 supervisors hit her and bragged about killing Cardenas.
Damn, the supervisors are vicious.
He's in deep.
Wow.
He's in deep. The note also gave the supervisors license plate numbers for further proof. When the husband arrived home soon after Anderson left, John Landman found his wife and 3-year-old son underneath his bed. A rope was found around Jolene Landman's neck, and a pair of scissors was stuck into her throat. And the back of his wife and son's head were crushed in by an unknown object.
Didn't expect that.
Yeah. That escalated.
So
Yeah.
I wasn't so far off when I said ligature earlier.
No, you were not. He did use a garrote. September 28th and 29th, 1989, for the next 2 days, as police zeroed in on Anderson, officials feared for the lives of his family. Police went to the other family members and asked them to try phoning the Anderson home personally. No one answered. Police forced their way into the home, fearing for his wife and children. They took the children out of their home in their pajamas, half asleep. After talking with police through the walls for several minutes, Anderson crept out of the bedroom, cowering behind his wife. He went out like a man. In the house, police found many weapons and hundreds of newspaper articles, notes, and documents about the Cardenas murder and Anderson's former public aid administrators. Anderson was charged with murdering the Landmans. April 17th, 1990, Anderson was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder for killing the Landmans. He was spared the death penalty and sentenced to life in prison without parole. So technically, not a serial killer
I was just gonna say.
when it's all said and done.
But a fuckface nonetheless.
Fuckface nonetheless, for sure.
Debatable.
It is also debatable because, last episode we did a serial killer that was a serial confessor. So he confessed to 41 murders. Right. It's likely they still killed people, and they think
12.
it's like 3 to 6. Right. Yeah, but he confessed to 41 murders. So this guy kind of the opposite. We're going opposite on that. So he's convicted of 2 counts first-degree murder for killing them, spared the death penalty. Question number 8. Here's a stab for you. Let's see. Will it help you? 1750.
No.
Yeah, it will if you stab this. In what year does Dale Anderson die? And there's multiple choice. If you guys want to stab, you can stab, but there's a multiple choice for it as well.
When was he convicted?
He was convicted in 1990, but not to the death penalty. You gonna stab, Robbie? You stabbing over there?
No, I'm gonna go multiple choice.
I'm gonna stab.
Okay. You stab too?
Yeah.
Robbie, here are your multiple choices. Did he die in 1998, 2002, 2009, 2014, 2017, or is he still alive?
Fuck, I'm out.
I was gonna say 98, and I was sitting here thinking about it, and I was like, 92. But I should have went with my gut instinct.
You should have.
I'm gonna say still alive.
And Robbie says still alive. Dale Anderson is still alive.
Damn
Robbie will
it.
score 250 points once more.
Hail Satan.
I think I've lost twice to Robbie.
1,750. Casey scored 750. Taylor scored 750.
Wait, did I lose to you the first time?
No, you beat me. I've only been on the
okay.
show with you. You beat me the first time, and
All
then the
right.
next 2.
All right, so Robbie is 2-1 against Bigfoot, it looks like. Congratulations on your victory.
I believe I'm still above 500 though.
Congratulations. We can go back.
Taylor 600.
I'm above 600, so
Yeah, she did. She got 750. She got 750.
met my goal.
So, little bit about, there's not really a lot more. He goes to prison. He's a model prisoner. I don't think he's handling prison life very well. Robert Ressler, perhaps, again, the most badass in the game. He believes that Anderson is responsible for the killing of the following people.
Oh.
So, again, Ressler is this badass profiler who sees murders and goes, yeah, I know who did this.
Is there a picture of that guy?
Of Robert Ressler?
Yeah.
I get that.
I've seen
I
him
don't-
in documentaries.
I only
You
asked
have
because
seen him in documentaries. You have.
if they made a movie, I'd picture Tom Hanks.
Well, his name is like almost like,
Oh,
so I keep thinking.
put
your
my
face.
name out there.
Ooh.
I can put my name out there.
Bleep that out.
It rhymes.
You know who would play Robert Ressler? Christoph Waltz.
Yeah.
Oh
for
my
sure.
gosh,
Oh.
it's like doppelganger.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Here you go, Greg.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Oh yeah, look.
Well, I'll be.
But it does sound just like that.
So, again, Robert Ressler, badass profiler. He believes that Anderson is responsible for the killing of the following people. Elizabeth West, a 14-year-old freshman at the Belleville Township High School, who was found dead on May 5th, 1978. He believes that he was also responsible for the killing of Ruth Ann Janey. She was a 21-year-old girl whose body was found in July of 1979. Robert Ressler believes he was also responsible for a still unidentified woman, thought to be 18 to 23 years old, whose body was found in September of 1986. He also believes he was guilty of killing Christina Polvolish, who was 19, who was discovered in July of 1987, and Gregory R. Bowman, who was 47. Oh, sorry. He did not kill. Gregory Bowman, who was 47, has spent 20 years of his life sentence in prison for the West and Janney murders, of which Robert Ressler believes that Anderson is guilty. They are actually fighting to get both Wodke and Bowman out of prison, but if I'm not mistaken, Wodke died recently. So, in prison. So,
That sucks.
Sorry, Wodke.
yeah, so a little bit of...
We believe in your innocence.
yeah, a little bit of
Hashtag
the...
free Wodke.
The opposite of last week is, we got a guy who's confessing to all of these, and this guy seems to have gotten away with three
yeah.
murders, right? That one of the greatest, and I'm not saying that Robert Ressler's never been wrong. I'm sure that he has, but not often. So it's usually a good source to go to. So that's it, guys. That's Dale Anderson. I hear we'll have an alien story sometime in the future.
Dale, if you're listening, please call in.
Yeah, please do. Robbie, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
There'll be a crowd clapping or something right here.
F
Casey,
Robbie.
I'm sorry you
F your logic.
have fallen below 500 against Robbie. Taylor, I'm glad you got over 600.
Thank you.
I think I'm still above 500. I could be wrong.
I have no idea.
Maybe I'm at 500.
We'll figure
like
it
30
Yeah,
episodes.
out. We'll have to do the count. We'll have to do the count.
Not 30. Jesse said it earlier, like 7,000.
Yeah, it's something closer to that. Is there anything any of you guys want to throw out there before we finish up tonight?
No.
Drive fast, take chances.
Go Raiders.
Oh yeah.
Rough. We're editing that out.
Diamondbacks, bro.
Taylor, anything?
No, thanks for that.
Cool. Oh, thank you for the book, by the way.
Yeah,
I
of
appreciate
course.
it very much.
Anytime.
That's 2 gifts you've received on this podcast.
Yo, I'm
That's all you get.
pretty much paying my mortgage off the gifts.
That's real. That is real.
So, thank you guys for being here. Co-host Greg, anything you want to throw out there before we finish up the night?
At Hella Greg on your favorite social media.
What's your favorite social media, Hella Greg?
Twitter stab.
I was gonna say. Okay, well, 1,000 points to Bigfoot.
All right, there we go.
I
So,
like that one. And there's a subreddit.
oh, that's right. There is a subreddit. We're working on it. We're not Reddit pros, but we'll figure it out slowly but surely. So, yes, thank you, co-host Greg. Appreciate you and that reminder. So thank you, co-host Greg. Thank you guys for coming out. We're finishing up at 10:40 tonight, so a little late. I appreciate you guys for that. God dang. Yeah. Thank you guys again for coming out, and thank you everybody for listening to episode 52 of the Serial Chillers podcast. That was episode 52. Thank you guys so much for hanging in there. Dale Anderson seemed to go downhill fast after that incident with his mother. Another sad tale. That's all it really seems like these days. Thank you to Taylor, Robbie, and Bigfoot for being here. I very much appreciate it. Bigfoot crashed the party last minute. I love it. It was a very fun show. Thank you again, Taylor, for the book. It was a very awesome gift. Taylor brought me a really cool book called Serial Murderers and Their Victims by Eric W. Hickey. I've kind of actually already jumped into it a little bit. It's a textbook, but it's a wonderful, just beautiful wealth of very, very good information. It's almost 500 pages long, so thank you so much for that. Reach out to the show if you guys want to. You can do it in so many ways. Facebook is Serial Chillers Podcast. The Facebook group is Serial Chillers Podcast. Instagram, Serial Chillers Podcast. Serial Chillers Podcast at gmail.com. The Twitter is at Chillers Podcast. Call or text the show 1-805-666-2513. We love it when you do. Merchandise at serialchillerspodcast.threadless.com, and you can give as little as $1 a month to the show if you'd like to donate at patreon.com/serialchillerspodcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, co-host Greg, for being on again. And remember, don't talk to strangers.
This has been another presentation from Super Network.